couple weeks ago, I shared a video about first-person narrators. And one type of narrator that can be really impactful is the unreliable narrator. So today I want to talk about why you should read Paula Hawkins' The Girl on the Train. The Girl on the Train features 3 uniquely unreliable narrators. So it's a great example of that literary technique. The narrator's unreliability is also important for the plot twists of the novel and is impacted by the setting of the train. I'm going to do my best to discuss this novel without giving away any spoilers, which is difficult to do because the slow release of information in the novel is vital to the mystery, the plot, and the characters themselves. This is Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping writers like you transform your writing so it lingers with readers in the way The Girl on the Train lingered with me. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. Let's jump right into the 3 unreliable narrators. First is Rachel. Rachel is the protagonist and gets by far the most time on the page. She's also an alcoholic. The nature of her substance abuse problem becomes clear in the lines. I once read a book by a former alcoholic where she described giving oral sex to 2 different men she'd just met in a restaurant on a busy London high street. I read it and I thought, I'm not that bad. This is where the bar is set. Here we can see that Rachel really does have a substance abuse problem and that her alcoholism is starting to affect her decisions and what she views as right and wrong. It also really impacts her memory. She can't remember certain events, or she misremembers others, and her relationships are negatively affected by her alcoholism. Also, her view of her relationships is altered because of her state of mind. Rachel is also unreliable because she's obsessed with her ex. She thinks about him all of the time and she wants him back, even though he is now married to the woman he cheated on her with. Rachel's unreliability heightens the novel's mystery. Because we can't trust her memory or her judgment, readers are never quite sure which clues she's uncovering are true clues, which are misinformation, and whether this memory is a real memory. It's difficult to know what's going on when the person giving you information is not trustworthy. The second unreliable narrator is Megan. She's the second character to get some page time, and she probably gets the second most, although Rachel by far gets the most. Megan is unreliable because of a past trauma, and this makes her unstable and unfaithful. Her unfaithfulness really impacts readers' opinion of her because when one lies in one aspect of their life, people often assume they lie in all aspects of their life. Her flightiness is evident in the lines. I haven't slept in days. I hate this. Hate insomnia more than anything. Just lying there, brain going round. Tick, 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 tick. I itch all over. I want to shave my head. I want to run. I want to take a road trip in a convertible with the top down. Here readers can see her rapid, impulsive thoughts. And readers also see her act on these in other sections, which makes her unreliable because she's impulsive, she is mentally unstable, and she's a liar. The third unreliable narrator is Anna. She gets the least amount of page time and is the last to appear. Anna is unreliable because she had an affair with a married man and she doesn't feel guilty about it at all. She doesn't care. She's kind of happy. She feels like she conquered something. She's also naive. She thinks, we'd sit in the window. She, Rachel, was at work in London, so there was no danger of her walking past and noticing us. But there was that thrill even so. Perhaps she'd come home early for some reason. I dreamed of it, willed her to come along one day, to see him with me, to know in an instant that he was no longer hers. Here we can see that Anna meant to steal Rachel's husband, that was her intention, which makes her unlikable and in a way untrustworthy. You wouldn't want her around your husband. She's also unreliable because she's naive. She doesn't really see what's happening around her in the world and she's living in her own little bubble. She is also shallow compared to the other 2 characters, which makes her unreliable because she's not really analyzing what's happening. All 3 women characters are also unreliable because they're very self-centered. They only care to see how a given event or action will affect themselves and their personal situation. They don't really think about what it's going to do in the future or to other characters. They are also great examples of how different characteristics can make people unreliable. Rachel is unreliable because she's an alcoholic and obsessive. Megan's unreliable because she has a trauma, she's unstable, and she's unfaithful. Anna is unreliable also for being unfaithful, but for being naive and shallow too. There are lots of ways to make your characters unreliable. You don't have to just revert back to someone who's crazy. You can use these same traits and more to make your characters unreliable. Next, I want to talk about the plethora of plot twists. The Girl on the Train is a complex mystery. It creates suspense by slowly releasing information and recontextualizing the information that you already have. Hawkins often controls the information through Rachel's memory. Because Rachel is an alcoholic, she has blackouts. So she doesn't remember certain events, or she doesn't remember them until later in the story. Also, Rachel misremembers certain events. This leads to red herrings. Having an alcoholic narrator can be a great way to control the information to build the mystery for your reader. Hawkins also uses multiple points of view to build tension and suspense in her story. The reader knows more than any one character, so they know when the characters are in danger even when the characters don't. For example, long before Megan has page time, we know she was killed. So every time we see Megan, we're wondering, is this the scene she dies in? The plot twists aren't just plot twists. They also are character twists. Usually when new information is released, it not only affects the plot, it also affects the reader's view of the characters, their opinion of who these women are. I can't really go more in depth into any of these plot twists or character twists without ruining some aspects of the book for you, so I'm going to move on. Next, I want to talk about train themes. The train plays a central role in The Girl on the Train, hence the name. It's not only a setting and a form of transportation, it's also symbolic and adds to the character's development. Rachel views the train as something amazing. She loves the train. Anna hates the train. And Megan envies the train. She wants to be as free to move around as the train is. The train also interrupts certain scenes and situations, and it bears witness to the story itself. The only reason Rachel interacts with Megan and Anna is because she was riding the train. I also want to mention the train because it was expertly used in marketing. People on a train is a very evocative image. They're in transit on a journey, and that's interesting. It's also one of the few forms of transportation where people are able to get up and move about freely, which creates opportunities for more scenes and character interactions. Trains make people curious, and this aspect of them was exploited in the marketing. For the book release party, the publisher had their employees ride trains and read the book so that people would see them reading on trains. That caught some media attention. It was a great marketing ploy, it was unique, it was fun, and it fit the book. That's something else you can think about when you're writing your book and getting ready to market it. What aspects can you pull out and use in your marketing? What symbols are going to make people want to pick up your book and read it? Last, I want to talk about why a professional editor recommends you read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Really, it comes down to the variety of narrators. If you're thinking about writing a book with an unreliable narrator, read The Girl on the Train, because it has 3 unreliable narrators that are unreliable in different ways and for different reasons. This is a great example of the difference between unlikability and unreliability. A character can be both, or they can be one or the other. Just because someone's unreliable doesn't mean they have to be unlikable. I didn't particularly like Rachel because she was kind of weak-willed and obsessed with a guy, but she was still interesting, and she was still unreliable. Megan was unreliable for being unfaithful, for having a trauma, and for being mentally unstable in a way. Her unfaithfulness, that aspect of her unreliability, might make her unlikable, but her trauma doesn't. Just like Anna's naivety doesn't make her unlikable, but her desire to steal someone else's husband does. Because of The Girl on the Train's 3 uniquely unreliable characters, its plethora of plot twists, and its use of trains, it captivated society. This is something your book can do too if you really commit to the literary techniques that you're using, like Hawkins did when she committed to her 3 unreliable narrators. So think about how you can use your character's unreliability not only as a part of their trait as a character, but also as an important aspect of your story. How can it drive your mystery, your plot, your twists, and your character's development? If you found this video helpful, please like below. And if you have any other thoughts about the unreliability of the characters in The Girl on the Train, I would love to hear them in the comments. Subscribe to Ignited Ink Writing for more videos like this that share some of the techniques successful writers use in their books. Because you can use those same techniques to transform your writing so it impacts and lingers with readers and gets remembered and recommended. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. To find out more about me, go to www.ignitedinkWriting.com. You'll also find a chart comparing point of view there. Now it's your turn to use setting, your character's traits or unreliability, and plot twists to ignite your ink.